set this up. There we go. Alrighty. Now you've got me. You've got the fire. Well, I guess you guys can't actually see the fire, but that's okay. You've got me. What else do you need? Big announcement to share with you guys, so hopefully some people start rolling in pretty quick here tonight. Lately, the population has been pretty good. Like the population rate or whatever the YouTube term for it would be called. The trickle-in rate? I don't know. I do know I need to roll up my sleeve that I'm going to be working with the fire with. Hey, you're number one. Yes, that's true, Albert. Very good job. Very good. Very good, very good. Hope you enjoy the calm right now before you get swamped with trolls and stuff. Oh, we always do enjoy that brief momentary little sampling of peace before we get the big troll showdown. But entertaining too, you know. I've always said we will for ill, for better, for worse, for good or for ill. This is the first time I've been on here when you weren't being barraged with comments. Well, we did start 2 minutes and 50 seconds ago, so the night is young yet. The night is still young. Hello, everyone. Make sure you guys hit that like button as you're rolling in. It really does help the channel. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. Nobody has civil discussion anymore. They do around here. We can't always guarantee that, you know? Like, it's not the most doable thing always, but we try to foster that kind of atmosphere here at the very least. Ooh, now this fire's getting nice and big. Oh, yes. Oh, good. Oh, jolly good. How wonderful. It really is like an art to building a good fire. How am I doing? I'm good, I'm good. Hey, yo, is that Peter Griffin? No. No, it's actually not, but what's up? Why is it so dark? Because it's nighttime? What's the fire look like? You guys can see it real quick. I can let you guys see that. Got a pretty prestigious little wood pile sitting by it, and a nice big old milk crate full of sticks. So you always have great conversation. We try to. What do you identify as? I'm a woman. California State Trooper. What's the life like? The life like? What do you mean, the life? I don't know. I live in Mississippi, so you can imagine what the life is like. You know what? The one experience I had with the Cali State Trooper was pretty, like, I don't know, um, seemed okay to me. The only experience I've ever had with the California State Trooper was one that ran us off a beach. He didn't even try to run us out of town or anything like that. He was just like, "Hey guys, you guys can't like camp on the beach. There's an area you can camp on the beach, but it's a little farther down, and I don't think you're gonna get." And we go back there at night anyway because it's just so risky and everything. So you guys might have to pack up and find somewhere else to sleep for tonight. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, he like sniffed the air. He's like, "You've been smoking?" I was like, "Oh well, it is California." And he was like, "Field sobriety test?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I passed it, and he was like, "All right, well, have a good one," you know? And we packed up the tents, and we fucking slept in the Walmart parking lot that night. That was in Pismo Beach, California. Bussy or Lady Wiener? I think as the owner of a Lady Wiener, I'm obligated to say Lady Wiener. I feel like I'm almost obligated. It's like it's like proper representation at that point. There we go. That's going to catch so nicely. And that's going to keep going for a nice long while. Hell yeah. How do you feel about Charlie Kirk? I would say I've got a pretty nuanced position on the subject. I think that Charlie Kirk was a backwards, bigoted moron. Nonetheless, did not deserve to die like a dog on the street, shot dead like a rabid dog. You know, I tend to think that that sort of thing is to be avoided in a civil society. I think that if murder is wrong, then it should be wrong no matter who it is. You know, if I'm going to oppose the death penalty on the basis of the virtue of human life, how could I possibly actually support or be in favor of assassinations of particular political figures, right? So I am 100% against the assassination. I think it shouldn't have happened. I think if the shooter was a leftist and their intent was to incite some kind of cooling down on the part of the Republicans, I think it had the exact opposite effect. I think that it was a really bad, like, strategic move if it was someone on the left, which I really don't think we know shit about shit yet. No matter what has come out, this is one of those cases that just rings of slant to me. So people need to stop being so fucking. People need to stop acting like they've got some verisimilitude the rest of us don't got when it comes to this Charlie Kirk assassination. We don't know who the fuck did it. I mean, we know what the fucking FBI. We know who the FBI says did it, right? And they probably are the ones who did it, right? That like, fucking Tyler Robinson is probably the person who did it. But his motivations, all of that seems so fucking convenient. And so I am not going to say for sure what happened in regards to that specific thing. I'm not going to make a fact claim there until I know for sure. And I don't think we're going to know for sure in a court case. It plays out, right? But that being said, I'm also not weeping any salty tears over the man because Charlie Kirk was, like I said, a backwards, bigoted moron. He was, like me, very, very good at getting people to believe that he was smart by using big words and referencing names and works that they had never come in contact with. But in terms of his actual rhetorical ability, he had none. Charlie Kirk had a very identifiable pattern and formula that he would use in his debates, and if you've watched one, you've watched them all. Literally, watch his Vosh debate, then watch his Kyle Kulinski debate, then watch one of his college debates. You will literally see him bringing out the same talking points, the same fucking bag of tricks in every single one. He is incapable. He was incapable of thinking on his feet, but he had a bunch of fucking young people not just convinced that conservatism was the right political philosophy to follow, but also that he was a super intelligent guy, and I don't think he was. I think that he was well read. I think that he was really, really eloquent. Interesting to listen to for sure, even though I don't agree with him. But in terms of his being like a super genius, like some people make him out to be, far from it. You want to know a smart motherfucker who's actually just grifting? Look at Jordan Peterson. That dude is smart as a whip. He has chosen to tie himself up into some weird set of social boundaries and some weird set of social bindings. But you can tell in the fucking immense amount of work that dude has put out. You can tell just by the fact that he's a college professor. You don't get to that level of academia unless you're a fucking whip smart motherfucker. So you want to look at a motherfucker who knows better and is just grifting? Look at Jordan Peterson. Don't look at Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was what I would call him. I would say me and Charlie Kirk probably sit at a pretty similar intelligence level, which is to say, midwit. You know, one thing Charlie Kirk had on me though, he is better. He was more well read than I am. Of course, he's also got like 5 years worth of age. Well, he had 5 years worth of age. Everyone who asks, what do you think about Charlie, followed by, how was he bigoted, is a bot? I swear to God, we've done this 100 fucking times. Yeah, Riley, I genuinely wonder that. Plus, we know outside of the Trump or the MAGA playbook to use bot farms and to try and subtly or not so subtly influence online discourse. It would not shock me if there are elements from within the Republican Party or within Trump's, infrastructure, basically, that are trying to ensure that Charlie's name does not leave the American consciousness until after the midterms. Because Trump and the Republican Party desperately want to use Charlie for the midterms. And they're probably going to want to use him in the fucking 2028 election. But whether the American people will still have a stomach for talking about the issue in 4 years, I think that's a little more dubious than whether they can be made to have a stomach to talk about it in 2, or really in 1.5. Not even 1.5. And like next year would be the midterms, right? Am I off on that? Yeah, no. Next year will be the midterms. So, yeah. They're looking to use Charlie Kirk for the midterms for sure. So it would not be out of character at all for them to be using bot farms to ask me this question over and over again. Kirk feels like a philosopher when you guzzle Monster Energy drink and watch football. To anyone who's ever seen the inside of a study hall, he's like a cartoon character level dumb. Oh, I 100%. I'm so glad your comment is the one I read, Kitty Hand. Yes, that is literally such an apt way to put it. Charlie Kirk, like Ben Shapiro, is a philosopher for dude bros. And I'm not even talking about the kind of and very particular kinds of dude bros too, right? Very it's like that person said, the Monster Energy guzzling, fucking what is that awful hairstyle all the fucking Zoomer boys have now? I don't remember what it's called, but it's lifted trucks that have never seen a fucking minute in the mud. It's people like that. When it comes to Charlie Kirk's core audience, of course, there are a lot of people now championing the cause of Charlie Kirk who never fucking listened to his ass. He was not the most dominant figure on the right wing. He might have been the most dominant figure among young conservative men, but he was not the dominant figure among the right wing in general. Have have Epstein or Shakanabi need to up your game up then? Do what now? By the way, that Shakanabi thing, if that is a reference to the shock collar allegation, get it the fuck up out of my chat. I've watched that fucking video. I've fucking seen the people trying to make the arguments. It's bullshit. And I don't even watch Hassan, but I don't like fucking malicious lies being spread about somebody with the intention to fucking ruin their career or their reputation. So if that's what that is, I want it the fuck up out of my chat. If you're just saying that he's a shock jock, then fine. Yeah, he is. But if you're saying he was shocking his dog with a shock collar, you're retarded. Get out. I don't like that motherfucker, and I just hate that type of shit. So fucking vindictive, dude. Vindictive. People that'll never have to deal with the consequences of reputation ruination. Trying to engage in it. Pieces of shit. My dude is dying from his vape. Well, number one, it's her vape, and number two, I'm not dying from anything. I was literally just adjusting a fire. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that like button. There's fucking 118 people watching. 59 of you, right? Half of you guys hit that like button. That would be 59 people. That would mean we would have 59 plus 18. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but that would be a shit ton of likes. So hit that like button if you haven't done it already. It helps the stream. It helps me. It helps you by encouraging more people to enjoy the stream and to join in the live chat. They found a clip of Hassan's shock collar remote on his desk in that exact place he reached for in the clip where he reached for the remote. Yeah, but it's not a shock collar. It's a fucking vibrate collar. It's a fucking collar with a vibrate thing on it. And you can also see in the clip where people are accusing him of using a shock collar on his dog, you can see her toe get stuck in her bed as she's trying to get into the bed. So, I don't know. I've looked at the clip. I've seen the people trying to make the explanations for it. I've also seen people showing off the exact same collar he has on his dog and comparing it to a pretty well-known vibrate collar. And it's an exact match. So, I don't know. Asking what is a woman equals comeback later. Yeah, and that's just because the topic has grown a little boring. You know, it's grown a little stale. You know, why do you have an Adam's apple if you're female? Friend, I've been sitting here with my fucking head covering my entire neck this entire time. How would you know if I had an fucking Adam's apple or not? You're a dude, play make believe it. See, this is the fucking intelligence level that I'm competing against, right? And this is one of the reasons why transphobes will never manage to convince me of their positions. Look at your best soldiers. Look at your ranks. Littered amongst you, some of the dumbest fucking people in America. People so stupid, so tuned out of the conversation, so fucking distracted by everything in their lives that they can't even take the 5 fucking seconds to proofread a comment before they hit the enter button. And that, my friends, is why I will never be able to take transphobes seriously, because in my corner is science, medicine, a vast amount of science and medicine, a vast amount of people who work in these professions. Reality is on my side, science is on my side, math is on my side, and on their side are, as I said, some of the dumbest fucking people America has to offer, adherents to one of the stupidest political ideologies to ever take over America, and people who watch Joe Rogan. I think I'll take my chances with the Mayo Clinic, the American Pediatric Association, the American Health Association, the fucking Dutch who have done extensive studies into this, etc., etc. I think I'll take my chances. You are just a weak man? Well, I'm not a man, but there ain't shit weak about me, bitch. In this corner, science, logic, medicine, reality. And in this corner, a 2,000 fucking year old collection of bullshit stories. Yeah. In my corner, observable reality. In your corner, the biggest sack of horse shit ever sold to mankind. Something tells me with the science and medicine. Something tells me that that's a reliable source to trust, especially when compared to the aforementioned Bronze Age bullshit. You wouldn't listen to somebody from the Bronze Age tell you how to do your taxes. So why do you listen? Oh, let me just make a point here, and I've said something I've always wanted to say to Christians. You wouldn't let a person from the Bronze Age tell you how to do your taxes, or tell you how to love your wife or your husband. You wouldn't let a person from the Bronze Age tell you how to raise your child. You wouldn't let a person from the Bronze Age tell you how to drive a car. You know why? Because they would have no fucking experience with any of this shit. You know why? Because it was the fucking Bronze Age. So why, when it comes to the entire management of a society, do you trust a book so fucking old that we don't even know if the fucking existent translations we have of it actually represent a code? That the Bible is fucking cobbled together from like 3 or 4 different fucking works that were never intended to be latched on together and tied together into one canon. But you guys are willing to predicate the entirety of society on that. And it's like your critical thinking just shuts off. If I asked you, hey, would you let an ancient Sumerian teach you how to work on your car? And you would say, what the fuck would an ancient Sumerian know about working on a car? I would say, exactly. So what the fuck does an ancient Sumerian know about how the world was created, dumb fuck? What does an ancient Sumerian, an ancient fucking, like an ancient Judaic person living in the Levant, know about the fucking creation of the universe? What tests have they been able to do on it? What science were they able to, like, how are they able to come to these fucking positions? And when you read the fucking Bible, this great source of wonderful information we're all supposed to worship and look up to, you know what you get as an explanation? It came to me in a dream. I saw it in a burning bush. The voice of God spoke to me. If you say shit like that these days, we throw you in the nut hut and call you schizophrenic. But people are willing to predicate their entire lives and bigotry against all kinds of people on that stupid, cosmically stupid idea. There we go. Now we've got some light again. The tax systems from the Bronze Age are tied to modern societies in many ways, little guy. Why are you spamming in my chat, Josh? Why do you consider your voice more important than everybody else's? I'll tell you guys a little bit of secret to getting your voice heard in here without spamming. Consider sending a super chat, because I do read every single one of those, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So if you're just really itching to have an argument with me and I don't seem to be reading your chat, I gotta tell you, spamming is a pretty good way to get banned. Repeating it when I'm looking at the chat, that's one thing. Just idly spamming it in hopes that your comment is the one that gets read, you're not the main character in here. You can pay to become the main character for a few minutes while I read and respond to your comment, but outside of that, you're only the main character, one of the main characters if I choose to let you be, and spamming is not exactly endearing to me. So let's try this again. I'm going to respond to your comment in good faith as if you didn't spam it. Because they are tied does not mean they are the same fucking thing. A person in the Bronze Age wouldn't know jack fuck all about an American tax fucking code. They wouldn't know how to fucking the fact that you're even defending this is fucking absurd to me. What the actual fuck would an ancient Sumerian know about American exceptions to like the American tax code in general. So like exceptions to what kind of income you have to officially report, and deductions that you only get under special circumstances, and itemized deductions and shit like that. Like, what the fuck are they gonna know about that shit? We're talking a very primitive fucking tax system may have inspired some of the elements of ours, and you're going to seriously compare them as if they're in any way comparable. Okay, so deal with the fucking car comparison then. You wouldn't let a person from the Bronze Age work on your car. You wouldn't let a person from the Bronze Age repair your fucking stick-built home. So why the fuck do you trust them with the building of the universe? Why the fuck do you trust them and their accounts and people like them and from that same era with accounts of how the fucking universe was created? I mean, that's just silly. That is patently absurd. You're a nut. I'm surprised you're outside. I'm surprised you don't drown in the shower with how stupid you are, as evidenced by your complete lack of spelling skill. They would know a man from a woman. You realize a lot of ancient cultures actually recognized transgender people and they had positions of varying prominence within society. Boom! Fat fucking own for that one. We actually used to be a lot more based on trans people, as it turns out. Someone banned Josh. I already warned him about the spamming. I'm sick of seeing it. No. 1 day ban. Yeah. Just free anybody that, fucking, literally, just ban anybody that is, just idly repeating shit. I mean, that should just be, a standing rule, obviously. If we're gonna have a conversation here, I can't be reading nothing but spam, you know? I've never been banned. It's really easy to not get banned. Just don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be spamming shit. Don't be trying to monopolize the conversation. Be interesting, original, and readable. Readable, original, and interesting. That's all I fucking ask. Make your chats fucking legible, correct pronunciation, or correct grammar and spelling and things like that. Obviously, pronunciation's a verbal thing. You make them original, no repeating dead chat memes, etc. I hate that I have to even go through this, honestly, with you guys, because I feel like at this point, people should just start figuring out, I get it. Like, it's been a long time. The internet's been around for a very long time, and live streams like this have been going on for 15 fucking years now, and people still have not gotten the idea that in order for one of these streams to work, the people participating in chat have to provide something in terms of worthy content to respond to, and that means that it's got to be readable, original, and interesting, at the very least. I knew. How's the fire? It's good. It's good. I'll give you guys another shot of the fire if you want. I don't think it could even survive the Bronze Age, dude. What do you know about me that tells you that I couldn't survive the Bronze Age? What do you think, there were no fat people in the Bronze Age? What a retarded fucking assumption. You realize the agricultural revolution is what allowed people to be fat. It wasn't America. America didn't invent fat fucks. What are your fire's pronouns? I don't know. Ask the fire. You have to build your own fire and commune with that fire yourself, and that fire will tell you their pronouns. This fire has not revealed them to me, so I merely refer to it with it or theirs. People don't yeah, I know that. People get fat from eating more than they are burning off in terms of exercising. So if you've got if you've got a calorie excess, if you've got an excess of calories and a deficit of exercise, then you're going to get fat. That's all it takes. Literally all it takes. And there are plenty of fucking, what gets me is that you can literally look at certain cultures even today that live more like natural lives or whatever, that have like tendencies towards fatness in them and shit, or even cultures that were only domesticated recently. Like if you look at Polynesian cultures, right? Samoans are literally known for being giants, like in terms of their stature, at least. And obesity it's not always been a problem among all Polynesians. I'm not saying it is, but, like, it was not exactly uncommon to run across a fat Hawaiian in the beginning of America's colonization. So the idea that you can't have fat people unless you've got like modern agricultural production on the scale that we have it, I think it's just silly. No, America has an obesity epidemic because of those things, but obesity in general is always going to exist. I mean, unless you create some kind of perfect society which just like like encourages everybody so strongly to exercise and discourages so strongly eating anything that would give you too high of a calorie excess, right? And I don't think we're gonna fucking create a society like that. I don't know about you guys, but I don't even know. I don't even think a lot of Americans would want that if you could give it to them. They'd be like, "You're trying to take my McDonald's." So it's a non-starter of an idea, really. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. There are 207 people watching. If half of you guys hit that like button, that would be over 100 likes on top of the 34 we already have. That would be amazing. So please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Also, consider sending a super chat if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered. I do appreciate and read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. It's also just a great way to financially support the channel and this weird little mission we've got going on here to bring disparate people from all across the political spectrum together to have crazy conversations about topics that matter with coarse language and our most genuine selves represented. If you like that mission, consider supporting with a super chat. If you have 207 people laughing at you, not supporting you, I've got 34 likes so far, and, like, not every comment I read is negative, so... And you know what? The fucking fact of it is, I hate to be the one to let you in on this fact, but for a monetized channel, there is no such thing as bad publicity. Even if you are all sitting around laughing at me, I benefit from those watch hours just as much as I benefit from the watch hours of somebody who loves me. And in fact, the Howard Stern Show did a study way back when, not exactly a very, I'm assuming that it being a radio show, it probably wasn't the most scientifically sound study on the planet, but they looked into it. And what they found is that people watched, or they might have commissioned a study, but they found that people watched the Howard Stern Show twice as much when they hated it compared to those who openly professed to like it. Those who professed to hate the show and loathe the show couldn't stop watching. And the reason they cited most? I just want to see what crazy shit he says next. And you know what the people who loved Howard and really wanted to see the show, you know what they said? I just can't wait to see what crazy shit he says next. So, deduce from that what you will. What I deduce from that is that it's controversial, really fucking interesting. If you believe the shit that you say, and you're willing to come out there with your crazy fucking opinions, that it doesn't matter if people like them, hate them, only that they rate them. I'll send $100 if you do 3 push-ups. No, you won't. I did this shit a couple of times back when I first started. Nobody ever does it, so no. No. Sorry. Howard Stern made millions, little difference. So what's it like? What your point? My point was that that study and then that like little informational bit proves that like hate watching is just as valuable as actual fucking watching. The evidence is you just pointed out. Howard Stern made millions off of it, and a lot of people who watched Howard didn't like him. Please stop using grown-up language and stop using Gen Z vernacular. I'm not. Can somebody ban Eminem? That was just fucking weird. That was just literally fucking weird and incomprehensible gibberish. Get it out of here. Are those your grandma's best drapes you're wearing? No, I actually got this from your mom's closet after I went and fucked her fucking raw pussy. I figured while I was there, I might as well grab some clothes out of the closet. They looked like they might fit me, you know, because she's a big old fat bitch. Big old stanky, fucking sweaty fat bitch. So I just stole some of hers, and I've been wearing them around because they suit me. She hasn't asked for them back yet. Why is she asking? Why don't you actually sound like a girl? What does a girl sound like? Jesus. Weed hit too hard that time. Whee. I wasn't ready. Looks like a linebacker on the 85 Bears. I love how now that I literally live my life as a woman, I'm suddenly the most masculine man anybody has ever seen. You know what I mean? That's fucking hilarious. That is fucking hilarious. Literally, you guys have got yourselves fucking cowed by your rigid, self-oppressive, and openly oppressive other people gender ideology that sets like men and women apart and divides them evenly and says there's no spectrum there and there's no crossover at all. You guys have got yourselves so fucked up with this shit that you now see masculinity in someone who's literally wearing nothing but women's clothes and has bangs for a haircut. You guys need to get fucking real. Seriously, go get some therapy, talk to a fucking mental health expert or something. Stop watching so much right-wing fucking just drooling demagogue nonsense and start listening to some fucking actual scientists on the matter of gender theory and the matter of fucking gender transition as a concept. You'll feel so much better. Don't be a fucking moron anymore. Join the military? I'm trans. They won't take me. Why anarchy? I think when people hear anarchy, what they automatically assume is no state, therefore no government, no oppressive hierarchies or unjust hierarchies, therefore no government. because, like, anarchy literally translated means a lack of some kind of overarching system, right? But that's not what, like, anarchy in theory actually means. Like, anarchist theory and like anarchy as a philosophy has way more to do with empowering individuals in communities and empowering people to work together, empowering people to look after one another, and building the sorts of systems that would lead to a world wherein people could actually live without any form of police or fucking government, or not government, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like state violence, right? A world with no need for any militaries because we've all united under some kind of common collective cause for the good of humanity. No need for massive roving gangs of police, and if there is something that's kind of approximating a police officer, it's somebody who stands on exactly equal footing with every other citizen. No qualified immunity, none of that shit. Complete fucking, they are, accountable directly to the citizenry, et cetera, et cetera. Like an anarchist world would not look like a world with no order, with no function. It would look where everything functions way better because people are actually working together cooperatively instead of working together cooperatively to compete against each other in some weird fucking race to the bottom where we all lose out. That's childlike thinking. I'm sorry, that's like, you're fine to have that opinion, but the things I'm talking about is not, this is not something I invented in my free time. This is not something that is like brand new to the fucking scene. This has literally been something that people have been talking about as a serious philosophy since before you or anyone else in this chat was ever born. Call it childlike if you wish. I call it maybe a bit utopian, but entirely practical if you look at the long line of history and what it's led to. We live in a more cooperative society now than we did, say, 10,000 years ago. War is definitely a lot less common now, at least war in the mass death, a bunch of people dying. Like, there are things that have changed, right? Now, I guess some would argue that really we've just kind of exported some of those things to other places and we've made it such that we don't have to deal with it as much. But I would argue that no matter what society you look back at in human history, every one of them up until recent times has pretty much, like, all the major countries have had big, like, wars of invasion where they're expanding their borders or fighting little wars and shit within their own countries, and bloodshed used to be a lot more common. People being forced to kill one another for one reason or another used to be way more common, and now it's way less common. There's still a lot of people that die to war, there's still a shit ton of people that die to unnecessary violence, but there are way less people that die to that kind of thing than at any history per capita. I know that, like, there's probably more as a total number, right? But per capita, there's less. And that, I think, is just one sign that points us towards the fact that we are growing towards a more cooperative world where people are going to try their best to get along. People already are. I mean, the fact that socialism saw such a rise in the 1930s and then has seen such another big influx of supporters and advocates since 2020, I think that's a sign of people really recognizing the utility of a viewpoint that takes human need into consideration and that takes care of everyone's needs unilaterally. How can we live in a cooperative society with foreign competitors? Would you suggest globalism, isolationism? Say if we started with what you're saying in the US, how would we thrive in the current system? Are you aware of how the Amish make money? Man, I can tell Mike is really insecure about his body because he keeps on talking about mine. No, actually, yeah, they sell shit. Okay, so here's how the Amish make money. Um, Amish villages or towns, whatever you want to call them, obviously are surrounded by farms, have a bunch of crafty work going on inside of them, and they sell the proceeds from this, whether that be in the form of direct produce or the things that they're making there or some kind of contracted service or whatever. They transact with the outside world in order to get the money that do what they have to do with it, right? So for what little things that they do have to use money for, right, they have an income via that process. Exactly, they sell shit. We would be the same exact way. If we were to start now, granted, you understand the world I want, this like anarchist cooperative society, I think it would rise naturally out of global cooperation. I don't think it would necessarily start with one country trying to do it, but maybe it would. And if it did, let's just say it starts with America. Then once we transitioned to the society where nobody within the country is using money to get anything, where it's all based on like need and then availability. Once we transition to like a resource based um, man, why are you fucking with that chair so much? Anyway, fucking losing my train of thought. Once you deal away with like a capitalistic society where money is the basis of exchange for everything, then you still have to do something with the excess that you're producing. You still have the option to sell that to other countries in order to get capital that you can use for getting things that your country can't produce naturally or whatever. Just because your country is acting as a capitalistic unit by itself doesn't mean that the like people within it need to act as individual capitalistic entities, if that makes sense. The country would start out, no matter how, you know, perfectly anarchist eventually start out. And here's the other thing, right? And I need to bring this up right now. It's going to seem like kind of a change of topic, but I need to bring this up because it's an important thing to note, right? So one of the reasons why I don't think anarchy is ever going to happen just in one country is because part of the principle of anarchy is no unjust hierarchy, which pretty much excludes the idea of a military by any modern definition. So I think that if you were going to make an exception for it, I think that it would if the paths of time wove in this way, you would have to figure out some kind of way to skirt around that requirement or justify it until you've got global cooperation. So I think what we would actually functionally have for a long time would be a variety of socialist societies working continuously in greater cooperation until we've reached the point where we've got effectively global cooperation. Those countries who are choosing not to cooperate or attack anybody or to try and take away from the system or whatever. And at that point, we just like the whole world, like disarms. Fucking people by that point will have learned to live cooperatively. A big part of my path to anarchy, right? A big part of my path to some kind of anarchist society is getting people used to the idea of taking care of one another through cooperative effort via taxes, right? Because that's how it would start out. Getting people used to that idea gets people used to the root idea, which is helping each other out through cooperative effort, right? And so I think like the first step in America, at least, is a market socialist society. So a society where all of your basic needs are met, but you still have the market for luxuries and hotels and, like fucking recreation and shit like that. Stuff necessarily a human need, right? And obviously, there's still going to be free parks, and there's still going to be some stuff for people that you know don't have a whole lot of money, even in this market socialist society, to spend on recreational time or whatever. There's still going to be plenty of things for them to do. There's still going to be parks and shit, like just like there is for poor people now, there's still going to be stuff like that for them, but they'll actually be able to access some recreational activities every so often, in addition to all these free amenities, because a society that decides to take care of human needs as a basic right will also enable people who currently have to spend all of their fucking time and effort just maintaining those basic needs. It allows them to actually pursue things like creativity. It allows them to pursue things like enjoyment and recreation. It would literally fucking transform the society overnight. Over fucking night. It would be such a tremendous change. People would start looking out again. People would start thinking more kindly about their neighbors. People would stop feeling so fucking hateful about everything. But you got to convince people of that first, and that's where, that's where the left's got to make a big kind of push in these next couple of years. And in my opinion, until we get it, I don't think we can let up. I don't think it needs to be a timed strategy. I think it needs to be a persistent strategy. And I don't think we need to let up until we've got our fucking rights. And in my opinion, one of humanity's basic rights is a right to health care. So you work for goods and services without money changing hands? You live in society and yet you criticize it. I am very intelligent. What are you suggesting I do? Run off buck naked into the woods and try and live off the fucking rocks and trees? Well, what's the idea there, bro? What am I supposed to fucking go to the national forest and just like live out the rest of my days there, moving every 14 days so I don't violate the rules? I'm not laying down for socialism. You go work for free. I'll pass. You already work for free, dumbass. Man, I'm not trying to be too mean about it, but you realize you already don't receive the lion's share of your labor's value unless you're working for yourself. Unless you're working for yourself like I am, you are not receiving the vast majority of the money you make. You make money for other people if you're working for a corporation. You're doing something for which you're being paid fucking $12 an hour. Dude, I used to work at a Taco Bell, right? Shitty. I know. I made like 10.50 there or something like that. 11, I don't remember. It was very little. It was around that number. I just can't remember which one. And that was my hourly rate, right? In a 3-hour shift, I would work sometimes the fucking like lunch rush kind of host, whatever, that shit. $30, right? I would usually within the first 10 minutes of my shift cash somebody or multiple somebody's out for one order totaling 30 or a number of orders totaling 30. There's my day's wages, and it's not even 10 minutes into the shift. You fast forward 30 minutes. Let's say it's a busy day. I might have already sold $200 worth of Taco Bell by that point. I've paid, not me, but I've helped to pay for everybody's salary there, just like all of them did. We earned our keep and earned Taco Bell an excess that is so fucking insane that it would be absurd to even fucking try and put a number on it. When you actually fucking add up all the different restaurants, all the different franchisees and shit. So what you're saying is you're unskilled labor making minimum wage. I don't make minimum wage, friend. I work for myself. I do this for a living. I used to make minimum wage. Why? Do you have a problem with minimum wage workers, Andy? I hope you never go to a fast food restaurant. I hope you never go to a Kroger. I hope you never go to a Walmart. I hope you never go to a fucking grocery store. You got a problem with unskilled labor, Griffin? You rely on it. You ain't got a problem with unskilled labor when you fucking pick up your goods and services from Walmart. You ain't got a problem with unskilled labor when you get your quarter pounder from McDonald's. You ain't got a problem with unskilled labor when you fucking pick your kids up from daycare. You ain't got a problem with unskilled labor in this, that, and the other situation. But when it comes to those people getting a fair shake with their wages, suddenly you want to demean them. You rely on them critically. Yeah, there is no problem with it. Thank you. Nobody has a problem with unskilled labor, but they don't deserve what skilled laborers make. So because they don't work in a trade or something like that, they don't deserve a living wage. So somebody deserves to live in poverty because they don't work a skilled job. Why? Why? They have no skill. You have need of them. It doesn't matter if they have no skill. You have need of them. You'll see what utility they provide to you when retail workers start striking in this country. You'll see what utility they provide for you once fast food workers start striking in this country. A robot could do their job, so why doesn't it? Why doesn't it, Griffin? 2 different companies have tried it, and both of them have taken their fucking programs back to trials because they were horrible replacements for their human counterparts that costed way less to implement. To keep them employed. Okay, so you have need of them, right? Otherwise, they would. You are unwilling to recognize the fact that you have an inherent contradiction in your viewpoint. You are okay with relying on a group of people that you want to see exploited. You are happy with seeing them exploited because you have some kind of superiority complex because you're a fucking HVAC guy or whatever. They aren't going to strike. They have literally been striking more and more over the last 3 years. You're retarded. That's kind of what you said. To be honest, I'm going to be most management positions be replaced by AI. Skilled labor is under fire by AI, not manual labor. That's another good point too. Yeah, when it comes to the actual fucking labor market, management positions are under massive fire by AI. Creative positions are under fire by AI. A lot of fucking machining work is under fire by AI. There's going to be a lot of machine shops out of fucking work here in the next few years. Once there's there's going to be there's already literally, there's already factories set up in the United States where you can go online, order whatever part you want, and they have robots that do the entire motherfucking process. Human beings touch it like twice in the whole fucking thing. So it's coming for your skilled labor. But you know what it's going to take a lot longer to replace because it's not all done with machines and shit, and it's not all done on factory lines that are designed to be automated. You know what's going to take a lot longer? Grocery stalkers. That's going to take a long time. The people who actually take your orders and the fucking system for paying out, that's going to take a while, man, to actually come up with some kind of really good weatherproof system by which people can pay through some kind of automatic teller at the counter and get their food delivered by AI. Yeah, I mean, there's some concept restaurants like that in Japan, but you notice none of them are drive-through. They're all walk-ups. There's a reason for that. I can see I ain't afraid of shit, bitch. I ain't afraid of a job application, but I don't need one. I make money on YouTube. Speaking of which, consider sending a super chat if you like what we're seeing here. I was unskilled, then I went into the military and got skills and my education paid for. While I was in, I invested in property and stocks. Now I'm working on apartment number 2. Capitalism was good to me. Andy, why is it when the military gives you a bunch of shit that you're able to take advantage of after you get out of the service, that's capitalism? But when you just get a leg up from the government in general, so when the government pays you as a part of your military service, that's capitalism, right? That's not socialism. So can we establish then that the government can in fact pay for the betterment of human beings without it being socialism? Because otherwise there's an inherent contradiction in your beliefs, Sandy. You say capitalism has been good to you, but you just described a bunch of socialist shit. The government paid you to be a soldier, and the government paid for you to get an education. I I looked into all the benefits, dude. I know for a fact that unless you were really dumb about it, you got your education paid for by the military, bro. That is socialism. It's just socialism that has done you, it's treated you well, and it's allowed you to prosper in an overall capitalist environment. Our mixed market, our mixed market economy has suited you well because you were able to take advantage of a little free floating socialism that exists in this country. The only problem with the free floating socialism that exists in this country is that you have to put your literal life and freedom on the line for it. And I don't know if you know this, but not every human being that's born under the sun is actually like cut out for military service. I know that that's like the big standby in a lot of conservative minds, and I don't really get why. Because even if you accept that fat people have no excuse, okay, whatever. What about people that are just fucking born too short for their fucking, well, for short? There's no, like you're not a dwarf or whatever. It's nothing like that. But you're just like, you're way too short. You're way too scrawny. What if you're too tall? What if you're fucking too, um, what if you do have some kind of weird deformity or something? You've got fucking 6 toes on one foot. Should you be denied any kind of help through life? Should you be denied basic human rights because you're not able to fit into society the right way at some point? I don't think so. My opinion is that if the government can afford to pay Lockheed Martin for endless fucking missiles, if the government can afford to pay for endless R&D, if the government can afford a fucking $1.2 trillion F-35 program, if the government can afford all of this shit, why can't we afford healthcare? Why can't we afford infrastructure renewal that actually rebuilds America's roads and widens and expands America's roads where needed? Fucking repairs bridges and introduces a speed rail line to this country. Why can't we have a universal food stipend? Why can't we have housing reform? All of these things, you could achieve every single one of them and eat half the military budget and still have money left over. The investments I made were what was good to me. The military gave me the skills to move on to my current career. I know, but you realize that that's a form of socialism, right? That is the taxpayer paying for you to get some kind of benefit, you know? Like, I don't know, dude. I'm not, listen, understand where I'm coming at this from, right? I'm not anti-veteran. I am not anti, like, soldier in any way. I'm kind of anti-military because I don't really think that we should be prosecuting a bunch of wars. You know, I don't think we should have no military under our current system. We kind of have to have one. But I also don't think that we need the massive amount of fucking money that gets pissed down the drain of endless military R&D, right? And I also don't think we need endless money poured down the unquenchable maw of fucking black ops either. So, yeah, not a big fan of the military as a concept, as understood by Americans the country over. But as far as like individual people that have been in the military, I think you guys genuinely deserve the benefits that you guys get for going into the military, because what you sign up for is fucking insane. And in times when there is a noble war to be carried out, it's you guys who have to carry it out. So, I think you guys have earned those rewards. I think it's a sorry state of affairs that we don't treat veterans better in this country. So, don't mistake where I'm coming at this from. What I'm trying to say is that if you recognize that it's okay for the government to pay for a benefit here and there, even like well outside of what they'd pay for an employee, right? It's one thing, like, yeah, I guess you could say, well, they work for the government, so of course they're going to fucking, like, that's just employment. They have to pay them, they have to pay us. Yes, I get that. What they don't have to do is provide free college, free housing, well, all this other shit. I mean, I guess they kind of do have to do that, but, they don't do that for any of their other employees. I guess you could argue they don't have to, but if we can afford to prosecute endless war and have the fucking strongest military on the planet, something tells me we can afford to have the best healthcare on the planet too. Something tells me we could afford to have free universal fucking free at the point of service universal higher education. We could have these things. I'd argue that it's definitely capitalist. I see what you're saying, but it's an incentive that works within capitalism, and it's an incentive, though, not socialism. See, I don't get this shit. See, whenever Republicans or anybody like on the conservative side of economics wants to justify government expenditures in one area, they'll say it's an incentive, right? They've got all this clever language to dress it up. But as soon as the left wants to do anything like that, you guys say literally, can you think of it's a silly premise, dude, but just humor me. Can you think of a single idea out of the left that you would look at as an incentive? Or is it all just socialism to you? Because I feel like we've reached a point of polarization in this country where literally every person on the right thinks every idea the left has is inherently socialistic. And I feel like, I'm of two minds about this. On the one hand, I feel like, it is kind of useful to point out that universal healthcare can be a policy that exists within a capitalist system. It's called a mixed market economy for a reason, right? But on the other hand, right, people are not letting the socialism label go. They're not letting the allegation go that every fucking thing that comes out of the left is socialist. So part of me feels like, well, fuck it, might as well embrace it. There's this old song, right? This old fucking Industrial Workers of the World song. I'm trying to remember the word. I can't remember the fucking verses, but I can remember the chorus, right? Well, you ain't doing nothing if you ain't been called a red. If you've marched or agitated, then you're bound to hear it said. So you might as well enjoy it or love the word instead, 'cause you ain't been doing nothing if you ain't been called a red. They've been, I'm just gonna, like, maybe, I don't know who all listening is a fucking hardcore conservative and who all is fucking whatever, but all that are fucking conservative have been calling people on the left of varying stripes socialists, reds, communists, literally since the 30s and before. This shit's been going on 100 years now. It is nothing new, and the overwhelming willingness to throw that phrase around at this point tells me that there's no point in like shying away from it as a label anymore. In fact, I think it would be refreshing for some Americans to see that the left is not shying away from it as a label. Like, yeah, we are kind of socialist. What of it? What, is that some kind of bad word to you? Are you a child? Like, do I have to be careful? Like, should I not say shit around you either? A lot of the best treatments are in the USA. Source needed. Some argue that's because of the current system. It sucks for anyone that can't afford. I'd like to see a hybrid system. Oh man, what would a hybrid system look like? Dude, I feel like a hybrid system would just be like, You know, one of the reasons why I kind of am not a fan of saying Medicare for all, but rather universal healthcare, or government managed healthcare or whatever, publicly accountable and shit, is because I want to be very clear. I want it to be very clear, right? Because I think that if you just expand Medicaid and Medicare, but you're not also nationalizing the companies that do this R&D or putting massive fucking like massive chokeholds on them so that they can't be corrupt and shit and they can't charge their fucking like jack their prices up for no reason, et cetera, you know? I feel like unless you're going to do that, then you're just going to end up with what you just described, which is a hybrid system, which is to say, a system where private corporations get to take the U.S. taxpayer for an ever greater ride every year. That's why Hamas gave up hostages because of our military. What did our military have to do with it? Are you saying the U.S. military had some involvement in the Israel conflict? That'd be a pretty big revelation if true. I think there are many examples of both sides of incentivized policymaking, but conservatives don't implement socialize anything. What? They're very picky about what they think actually benefits. Yeah, I don't think they are. I don't think they are at all. I don't think fucking conservatives are picky. I think they fucking lean towards the billionaire class. And I think it's pretty like obvious that they do. Why is it that there's never any question of the defense budget? Why is it there's always bipartisan support for the defense bill, but we can't end this government shutdown and figure shit out? Why is it that we can't? Why is it we've got endless fucking money for corporate subsidies of all kinds, but when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, and all that shit, we really got to watch out and cut the fat? Why is it that Republicans are so willing to give handouts to corporate America and so unwilling to give a hand up to regular Americans? If we have a small military, we'll still give up force we have on enemies. The whole world is not our enemy, bro. This is a fucking idea that people need to fucking open their minds to, bro. People need to wake up to this shit. This idea that the whole world is your enemy because you're American and because you're in America is literally an idea installed in your head by a group of people called the neoconservatives. They want you to be afraid. They want you to be terrified. They want you to think that there are threats from within and without, and they want you to authorize permanent spending boosts to the U.S. military's budget. Not you personally, obviously. But they would like it quite a bit if the U.S. government would engage in some of that stuff more. Politicians should have to wear sponsorship badges. I have always fucking agreed with that one. Dude, I saw that meme when I was like 15 and I was like, yeah. I was just starting to get involved, or like not involved, but interested in politics at that time. And I was like, already, I was like, yep, they should. And I've only been more convinced of that as time has gone by, dude. Oh, dude, can you imagine what Trump and Kamala would have looked like? Oh, my God. They would have looked like fucking Dale Earnhardt out there. Oh, man. Well, you know what they say, raise hell, praise Dale. You guys are shameful in your super chat participation, by the way. It is an hour in, and there is 0 super chat revenue. Worst night all month. I guess you guys just don't love me anymore. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't super chat just because I said that, okay? Dude, I'm too nice for this shit. I am way too nice for this shit. I need to fucking. You know what? I need to watch a bunch of old Freight content and get back to my roots. I need to rewatch a bunch of George Carlin content too and really get back to my roots. I was watching George before I was watching TJ. Dude, I was listening to George Carlin stand up when I was a little ass kid though. My mom has told me that when I was a baby and a toddler and shit, like she has gone through periods of rewatching Carlin content and shit. And that has apparently happened throughout my life. So Brian with the fucking 99 cents. Well, thanks, Brian. I've enjoyed the conversation I've had with you up till now. Yeah, I just feel like, and I hope I don't sound too abrasive, by the way, when I get passionate about this shit. I don't mean to come off as abrasive as I am, but I also can't really help it, right? I've tried my best, but I haven't managed to succeed. And at this point in my life, I kind of feel like, I'm 27 years old, I'm approaching my 30s. What sense does it actually make for me to try and shift my personality in such a fundamental way? So I just kind of keep on being myself, and sometimes that does come across as a little bit more abrasive than I mean to be. Um, but ultimately, I'm just passionate about this shit. I feel like I've had a lot of conversations with fiscal conservatives about matters of economic importance, and I feel like the excuses I hear out of them are always very flimsy. Always very flimsy. I feel like I've never heard a substantive and good answer to why is the military a better expenditure of our money as of right now than universal health care would be. Just that policy alone. I won't gish gallop you with all the other things I believe in. Just that policy alone. I've never heard it explained. I'm sure there's somebody out there who could, but I've never heard it. Anyway, I will be right back. Give me just 1 second. Ow. Oh shit. Ow. Whoa. Ow. 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 I hate getting up from that chair. It hurts. Dude, the moon is so pretty. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's real beautiful right now. Real fucking pretty. Oh, shit. I can hardly walk. Alrighty. I have to take you guys on an adventure now because we're not quite done with the stream, but oh, now I see why we've got almost nobody in here. We've gotten age restricted. Do you guys even still see the super chat button? I'm curious. Yeah, it is there. Oh, okay. Well, then that's good. Apparently age restriction takes that away sometimes. Learned that the other day. Ow. That's a little bit of wood. I'll get the fire restarted at least. Stream cuts in and out. Okay, well, I will turn off my Wi-Fi here in a second, if that is a problem, because that will solve that. Alrighty. Put all that right there. We'll go back for one more load of sticks. This is what I meant before, by the way. Conservatives socialize religion, the military, and family in their tax codes, scrutinize undocumented immigrants, a majority of citizens, low tax, and the left. Okay, well, I will respond to that in just a second. Brian, just so I understand where you're coming from, are you a conservative or are you a leftist? Where are you coming at this from? Are you describing that and agreeing with it as good policy? Or are you describing that saying that, that's the way it is, regardless of whether it's right or wrong? I think that is helpful information at this juncture. Ooh, that fire's burning nicely over there. It means I did something right. Hell yeah. Let's just see if I can find some more wood over here. Yes, there's a nice couple of pieces right here. They're kind of termite eaten, but you know what they'll do. And so will this one. There we go. Here we go. Now we're cooking with, well, not gas, but wood. Now we're cooking with wood. Fuck yeah. That was a good wood run. Alrighty. That was productive. Excuse me. Okay. Okay. Can I see your comments? Time to wake up? Yes, I can. Let's see here. That's what I meant by specificity. It's a pattern of admission for their side. I'm describing it as I see it. Yeah, I'm a self-identified libertarian and I'm left on most things. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a critique then, not necessarily an agreement of moral rectitude or anything like that. Okay, well that makes a lot more sense. And yeah, I would agree. Under those auspices, I would agree that definitely is how they look at it, right? They lay out pretty fucking clear exemptions and favorable treatment for not just religion in general, Christianity. It would be one thing if it was religion in general, But specifically for Christianity, at least when American conservatives, right? I understand global conservatives differ. But when it comes to American conservatives, they are very protective and favorable of Christianity when it comes to their tax codes, and they are very protective and favorable of family, as you said, and the military, and some other forms of limited government spending. Because in my opinion, it goes farther than just those three things. The American conservative tends, in my opinion, to be usually in support of not just tax cuts to big corporations, but actively subsidizing them. Nice. I've got me a little furnace built here that will very quickly ignite wood and ensure that the fire stays nice and bright once it gets going good. I really want to create some kind of like mobile fire pit that is actually useful for a smaller setting, like a back patio or something like that, but that isn't so small so as to be comically small. Because I've seen like comically small portable fire pits, and it's like, that's not a portable fireplace, okay? But I think about, stuff like what I've been burning tonight, and I just think, I bet I could come up with a design for a fireplace that, or some kind of mobile fireplace that does basically the same thing that the way I set my fires up does, which is to encourage airflow from one side and encourage a really nice hot area of constant burn that I can just feed with more and more sticks. What I'm thinking is, um, I'm thinking something metal, because I would want it to be portable, and I mean like actually portable. So heavy enough to stay where you set it and everything, but not so heavy as to be a complete bitch to haul around. Optimally, it would even come apart a little bit. It would have some clamps and shit to hold it together, obviously, when you got it set up. But optimally, you'd be able to disassemble it into like three parts, like the upper assembly, middle assembly, and lower assembly, or something like that. But what I'm picturing in my head is basically a setup where you've got an air intake inlet kind of at the back, along with an ash catcher at the back of that, and then a little, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how to describe this shit, but some kind of lip that comes out and curls upwards, and then the body of the mobile firebox with the side that is actually the intake for the fuel being obviously much wider than the little flume that's farther towards the bottom. And then for the smoke, obviously, it just goes up through whatever chimney you've got at the very top. Which U.S. war criminals would you like to see prosecuted at The Hague? Well, let's start with all the fucking ICE agents committing war crimes right now. And, let's see how many we get through before the Dutch get sick of us. No, but if we're going to be serious about that, like, who do I really fucking want to see prosecuted? Oh, man, George Bush. George Bush, please. Please, George Bush. Barack Obama, honestly, could probably do with some de-lionization so that people would recognize that he was not the fucking liberal black savior that he was promised, because that dude massively increased your roof stacks. Shaney, yeah. Yeah, that timing was great. You ain't kidding about that. You're gonna smoke a bowl in my honor? Well, good, because I ain't got nothing but THCA dabs, and I'm running out of them. The pot situation's pretty dire in my neck of the woods. You know what's funny? For the longest time, I hated the word pot in reference to weed. It wasn't until I started going to rainbow gatherings and I started getting used to old hippies always calling it pot that I started to kind of do it. I still don't do it often, but if I'm among friends, you know. Dude, the negative attitudes towards marijuana need to stop. People need to fucking get real about this shit. People act like it's just as bad as drinking or some shit like that, and it's just not. It's objectively not. People need to fucking get real and honest with themselves. They're not gonna, but they need to. Shit. You know what though? You know why people won't? Because people don't want to accept the fact that if fucking booze is in fact worse in general, I guess, you know, than pot, then that means that they have been needlessly judgmental to a whole shit ton of people. And nobody wants to confront some shit like that, so let's just pretend that it's not the case. People want to remain on their high horse. Oh shit, I guess the super chat button is working, because there we go with the $9.99. A little dime bag on me then. Much love for the stream. Well, thank you, Brian. Oh shit. What a kind soul. I'll just leave that one out for a second. What a kind soul. Thank you, Brian. What a dope guy. At what point does resistance to U.S. Gestapo escalate? At what point, indeed? I'll tell you what point, but I hope it doesn't get to that point, Huang. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm assuming it's Huang, not Huang. But yeah, it's when It's when the fucking ICE Gestapo and Trump's little fucking personal army that he's building between the National Guardsmen and ICE. It's when they start to fire live rounds on protesters. Once that happens, the stage is set. The die is cast. I'll tell you what, since we have gotten 2 donations tonight, I will sing you guys a song, even if I don't grab my guitar. If you guys if you guys get us to $20, I will grab my guitar. But as of right now, Sam, regale you with this little tune. Um, the line it is drawn, the curse it is cast, and the who is slow will later be fast, as the first one now will later be last. The order is rapidly changing. Please get out of the new one if you won't lend a hand, for the times they are a-changing. How soon after hormone change do breasts develop? If you start taking HRT, you can start to see the first signs of breast growth as soon as like 3 or 4 months in, I think. But if I'm remembering correctly, but a lot of trans women won't see significant enough. Like a lot of trans women won't be like satisfied with it until like a couple of years in sometimes, and some trans women never end up being like fully satisfied with it, so they go for um, breast enlargement. We do not have this where I live. Some places are way more restrictive to trans people, so that that tracks for sure. Love that song. I do too. It's a really fucking good song. You can't say they're gonna attack if they're in an inflatable frog suit. Exactly. But if I genuinely believe that if ICE starts using live rounds on protesters, I don't like that this is going to be the outcome. I think that there is a real fucking, I think that there's a real strong image to peacefully resisting in the face of mass violence. I think it forces governments to come to fucking heed. It forces them to come to heel whenever just giant fucking massive media circuses spring up in the wake of them doing some fascist shit like that, right? And so, despite me not thinking that this would necessarily be the best course of action, I genuinely believe that if something like that were to pop off, if they were to start using live rounds on protesters, I think some of the resistance forces are going to start, or some of the, people engaged in that resistance are going to start bringing, something with them. I mean, it's just, in my opinion, we are on borrowed time already. It is just it is just a, the fuck? Anyway, it is just a matter of time. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully they don't escalate to that level. And nobody in my country feels the need to fucking escalate back, Like hopefully the government doesn't choose to take it to fucking take it there, and hopefully the citizens don't respond like that. But goddamn, dude. Would you blame them if they did? How much is the proletariat supposed to take? Literally, how much is the proletariat supposed to take before they rise up and actively start trying to resist this regime and all other regimes that would oppress them? I don't know. Part of me hopes that this is a flashpoint for some kind of workers' revolution in this country. Not, like I said, I'm a big advocate for peaceful action. This is not me saying I want any violence in this country at all. I do not. Not a fucking advocate for any kind of that shit, right? I'm not a fucking boogaloo person or whatever. I'm fucking firmly on the side of peace, right? I think it should be a peaceful workers' revolution, and I think we could achieve it. Civil disobedience is, you know, on some level, legal in America. We could occupy every fucking public space in Washington, D.C. and Wall Street and get what we wanted. And that is open to us. It's a possibility, and I hope that's the fucking direction we go. Should they start using live rounds on protesters? I hope that everybody decides, okay, you know what? Rather than occupying our own cities, right? Rather than making life hell on these ICE agents and shit, let's just go right to the fucking head of the snake. Let's just go right to the fucking central fucking core of the problem, DC and Wall Street, and force them to deal with the American people. Force them, I guess it wouldn't be forced necessarily, but you get what I mean. Like, like present them with no option but addressing us or committing a mass atrocity. Yeah, no, that's what I figured when you said that, Wong. Yeah, your partner is an individual that would use hormones if available. Yeah, no, for sure. Man, it sucks to be stuck in countries like that. Honestly, it sucks to be like stuck somewhere where you're not legally allowed to live as your authentic self. That is one of the things about America that it's kind of nice still, even though we've got a lot to improve on. There are a lot of things we need to do better. You are still allowed to be trans here. It's under attack in a lot of states. There are a lot of states trying to change that, but they haven't been successful so far. I've never heard that take before, but I see what you mean, Phoebe. First Amendment could be our way out of this mess. It is. It is. And by the way, Brian, this is an idea that I've been pitching for over a year now. Even before Trump turned out to be such a fascist, even when it was still like we were just dealing with the aftermath of the election, or just approaching the election, I was telling people no matter what happens during the election, right? No matter what happens during the election, there is a critical choice coming up. Are we going to continue living this same fucking life and letting whatever happens politically happen? Or are we going to take the fucking reins and actually do something? If we choose to take the reins and actually do something, it's going to have to mean more than just protesting at your local courthouse or sending your fucking useless ass politicians letters and shit like that. It's going to have to involve all of us. Not all of us, but it's going to involve at least 15 million people divided between Wall Street and Washington, D.C. And it's going to require them to be renewed probably by another 15 million. So it's going to require like a whopping 1% of the American population. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to do it, y'all. No, but it really is crazy to fucking think about, right? If you actually think about it from that standpoint, we're talking about like maybe 1% of the American population, 1 to 2%, maybe of the American population. If we could get 1 to 2% of the US's population to collectively go to DC and Wall Street and set the fuck up with camps and guitars and kitchens, donating food that they make out of food that's donated to them, I think, I always say we need to follow the rainbow model. And if you don't know what I'm talking about the rainbow family of living light. If you look into rainbow gatherings, or if, good Lord willing, if you ever get to go to one, right? If you're ever living in a town kind of near where one's happening, go to it because it's a really fun fucking experience and it'll give you a lot of faith in humanity. Really will. But I always tell people we need to follow the rainbow model, which is at Rainbow, there is no money in the woods. Whatever money you bring into Rainbow is to be not taken out or given to the Magic Hat, which is basically the Rainbow Upkeep Fund for InfoCamp. It's like them maintaining the website and that shit, People will bring money into the woods to donate to the Magic Hat, but that is the only kind of money that changes hands in Rainbow, and it's all given on good faith donation basis and nothing in return. The only thing that is traded at Rainbow is everything else. So, food, for example, is freely distributed as a basic right to anyone going to Rainbow. Now, some of the other beautiful things about Rainbow, you kind of need to contribute to the community you're staying in or around, in order to really be invited into that kind of thing. But that's the beautiful thing about Rainbow, is that it teaches you how people learn to adapt and how they find their own niche and everything. And it also, it also shows you how many people would actually be leechers. And the answer is very few. Very fucking few. In fact, there's so few that Rainbow has a name for them. Bliss ninnies. A bliss ninny is a person who sits around at camp, not doing shit, but wanting fucking bud, wanting fucking dabs, wanting fucking food that you ain't even offered to fucking the whole everything. They're just like, ooh, can I have a bite of that? It's like, fucking go away, you goblin. That's a bliss ninny, okay? Bliss ninnies get called out almost immediately, and usually they stop being a bliss ninny by the second camp they get kicked out of. They figure out, okay, there's not a place in Rainbow where this works, and they fucking figure it out. But the point is, I got way distracted because I just love Rainbow. But the point is, if we followed the Rainbow model of um, keeping people fed, clothed, entertained, and active in terms of the support of their rights, the same way Rainbow does, I think we could actually have a sustained movement that keeps people on the ground and actively working towards a better future until they fucking achieve it in Washington, D.C. I think we could have something like that. And basically, what the Rainbow model of keeping people fed and entertained and active and all that shit looks like is collective participation in the upkeep of the individual communities, a donation-based model of food, trade and barter for exchange of, interesting things and stuff like that, which I don't even really think we would need to incorporate much of that. I mean, it might be an interesting thing to bring, but, you know, um, And as far as keeping people entertained, music is massively encouraged at Rainbow. This is something that should also be encouraged at the Capitol and Wall Street protests. We need to encourage people to play protest music, fucking soul music, fucking whatever music they want to. We need to encourage people to be free with their spirits and their souls, to be open with themselves and to embrace the revolutionary spirit from days long past. We need people to understand that whatever happens to them, they'll get released in a few days and they can rejoin the fucking protests, and there'll be a sign for them and a little community for them. And if their tent got taken away or fucking destroyed, there'll be another tent in the donation pile. Still lost. I'll just wait for a new topic. Aw, poor Winston. Yeah, we've been hopping around a lot, Winston. Yeah, I don't know. Just recently, just this second, I was talking about my goofy ass plan to get 15 million occupying every single fucking square inch of public space and making it a living nightmare for the politicians there by turning it into a hippie infested fucking free food fucking bonanza. You know, that was the thing we were most recently talking about. My harebrained scheme to fix the country. You know what it is, really, Brian, Post, Riley, everybody? This country got within a cunt hair of actually fucking enacting socialism like twice. Once during FDR, you know, like to the enactments of the New Deal and shit like that. I think if FDR had actually finished out his term and had a really fucking good socialist or socialist adjacent candidate came up in the wake of his, you know, passing the torch, I think we might have a market socialist economy now, where basic human need is taken care of, just like it is in most countries, and everything else is taken care of by the market. I think we'd be so close to it. I also think we would have gotten there had the summer of love been sustained. You know what the problem with the 1960s was and the summer of love? The problem was that it was one summer. I just think back to that Hunter S. Thompson quote where he says, you know, like he's talking about, yeah, I think it's from Fear and Loathing. He's talking about like the 60s feel like a fever dream. Like things were so close. We were so close to the precipice of really changing things. And then the tide broke and fell back. But yet somehow it still seems like if you go to a high point in Las Vegas somewhere and look west, it's like you can almost see the high water mark. That moment where things could have went. That moment where we could have changed things. I know I'm paraphrasing. I'm not getting the quote exactly right. But I just think back to that. And I want to do it right. I'm not the savior of this country, and I need to fucking remind myself of that sometimes because I'm not going to be able to start this movement on my own, much as I might want to. Fuck. This country has sucked every day of my life. Sure, it's better than fucking Turkmenistan. I'm not saying it's not. But this country is fucking blown to be a working class person in my entire fucking life. And I really do not want anybody's kids to have to grow up in that. I don't want to have to continue living in it for the rest of my life. I don't want to die in a world where the rich have divided us so deeply that we are no better in terms of our basic needs being taken care of than we were beforehand. I think Wong just doesn't speak English as a first language. I don't think Wong is crazy. He's he's just a unique fella. There for a second, I almost thought I heard rainbow drums, but no. Man, what did I do, bro? Shit. Sometimes I really, really miss being on the road. And I don't even know. You know, dude, sometimes I think I miss just a combination of it all. Miss the climate. Not that, you know, there's one specific climate, but that's the thing. When you live in a vehicle, yeah, it's inauspicious, you know, it's shitty in a lot of ways, but be anywhere, dude. You could really get away from all the fucking highway noise. Go to places where you could see the whole fucking night sky light up. Oh, I miss some of the friends I had back then, that's for sure. A lot of them I just don't know how to get in contact with anymore. I don't miss how much I had to bust my ass when I was living that way, but you're fine, Wong. That's real. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, y'all. I really wish I had my guitar with me right now. I want to play Wish You Were Here, feel sad. It was a cute apology. Don't be sad, get glad. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard. In the US, my interests and activities are described as John. I did not intend to be implicating anything not transactional. Oh. that adds a layer for sure. But whatever, we don't judge around here. I'm fucking confused as shit too, Brian. I have no idea what's going on. I don't pretend to have any idea what's going on. You know what? You know what's on my mind, Brian? To be completely honest with you, you know what's on my fucking mind? The fact that I've got some grilled chicken that I made earlier sitting in the fridge, and the fact that that shit's gonna be fire as fuck when I take it out and eat it cold before I go to bed and give myself indigestion to wake up to tomorrow like an idiot. Dude, leave it to a fat bitch. Dude, that's the funniest shit ever. It really is true though. Dude, you want to know what's on the average fat fuck's mind? If you're just like looking at them and they seem to be just kind of like, like they're not into whatever's going on right in that moment. If they're not actively eating, their mind is on food. If it's not on the conversation at hand and you can tell, ask them. It's probably on food. Now, it might be on something else. I'm not saying fat people are a monolith, okay? I'm not saying they don't have other thoughts about anything else. But as a fat fuck myself, let me tell you, 9 times out of 10, if I'm sitting around and there's a conversation going, but I'm not really in the conversation, and you like go like, Phoebe, Phoebe, what, huh? Or what are you looking off in his face for? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be like, oh, I was just thinking about this really wonderful cheesecake I had one time. Or, oh, I was just thinking about like this delicious grilled chicken that I made the other day. Or like, oh, I was just thinking about the last time I made chicken Alfredo. Thinking about, oh, that sounds good. Literally, I'm not kidding. And I swear to God, I'm not the only fat fuck like this, because you know what? I've dated a lot of fat fucks. My current partner, pretty skinny. Every other fucking person I've dated has been, a fellow fat fuck. And I kind of, like, I don't know. One of my exes always makes the joke that I have a type, and that it's like, that it's, she's not in here right now, so I don't want to call her out by name. But she always says that my type is like little fucking skinny bitches. But I'm like, no, that's not my type, because it's been equal numbers of both, okay? I think my type is beautiful people that trend towards the feminine side, but have at least a healthy dash of like tomboy energy, if not expression. Yes, Swung, I am. My friend told me this exact same shit. I thought he was joking. Well, I mean, I'm joking in the sense that I'm saying it in an exaggerative way to hopefully get a laugh out of you guys, but I'm not joking in the sense that I'm not really exaggerating, you know? Like, I'm a fat motherfucker. I've known and been friends with a lot of fat people, and I swear to God, we really do sometimes just be sitting around thinking about food. Good, bad, right, or wrong. I mean, me personally, I think it makes perfect sense. You don't get to be fat unless you've got an unhealthy relationship with food. And the only people that sit around thinking about food all day are people that got an unhealthy relationship with food. You know? And I'm not saying every fat person sits around thinking about food all day. This is a game of averages I'm describing here, not a universal rule, okay? Definitely true in my case, though. I'd be thinking about food all the damn time. I'm not even kidding. You look at me, fucking 9 times out of 10, ask me what's on my mind. I'm like, pulled pork, ribs, fried chicken, steak, hamburgers, catfish, rotisserie chickens, cakes and pies, cakes and pies. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm sitting around thinking about smoking and playing video games, if I were to think about food as often, I'd be so big. Soul food, dude. That's my fucking weakness, dude, is that soul food shit. But no, that's the thing, is I've got some self-awareness, I'm a fat fuck. It's not necessarily the most interesting thing to talk about, so when people just spam about being me being fucking fat and out of shape, that does get banned out of here sometimes, more because it's fucking just useless to the conversation, right? But like, somebody makes a funny fat joke, I'm more than happy to laugh at it, because I've got no investment in trying to like lie my way out of being fat. You know what I mean? Like, let me try to control the narrative of this thing you can fucking see with your own eyes. Don't believe your lion eyes. Don't believe your lion ears. I am not actually fat as the fucking moon. I am lithe and skinny. It's just like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, the last thing I read from Huang is arousing for me too, which I guess arouse can have different meanings. Like, you can arouse someone's attention without arousing. But some, sometimes you do arouse someone when you arouse their attention, It's a very multifunctional word, as it turns out. Let's give Wong a moment. Let's see where he's going with this, shall we? Daddy hung. I'm gonna fucking die. Dude, the ducks just quacked. They think I'm a duck. That was the most bitter roasting I've ever gotten, y'all. Was those ducks quacking when I laughed like that. That, literally, nothing Kid Wizard has ever said to me in my entire life even measures up to that. Just throwing a little bait out there for the Snarker subs. I'm thinking about quitting my participation over there, just like completely lurking, because I feel like, like, they are a slightly more interesting place, but I've figured out at this point that it's just like, because all of the people that used to make it a more annoying place and less interesting have blocked me, and it's just like, whatever. I can just monitor it on an alt account and not participate there in any way, and just look at the shit and make sure they're not saying anything slanderous or doxing anybody, and making sure that it's documented when they do. But, I was having a conversation with some of them in the comments over the course of today and yesterday. Just, every couple of hours I'd check in. And someone did bring up a point, which is like, well, like, what's the point though? And it's like, well, amusement. But at this point, it's really gotten kind of boring. And you know what? You know what's fucked? I feel like, honestly, I have allowed Reddit to replace my old usage patterns of Facebook. I used to use Facebook as a place to write vitriolic rants too, Not that I think any of my vitriolic rants against the Snarker subs were unjustified, don't get me wrong. But I don't think they probably changed any minds. It might have kept some existing fans from believing some of the fucking horseshit that gets spread around over there, but I doubt that it changed any of their minds. I'm sure it gave some of them some laughs. Hell, some of it gave me some laughs, but I feel like I've probably sucked up all the juice I'm gonna from that stone. And at this point, Paul's not even really talking about the Snarker subs. And I feel like, there for a while, I feel like there was kind of like a cool interplay between me, Paul, and the Snarker subs. But Hell, at this point, the Snarker subs seem to have like started to move on. Um, one of like both two of them are just completely locked down now, basically. One of them has like a couple of people that are allowed to post, but whatever. Um, but if they're moving on and Paul's moved on, what sense does it make for me to fucking keep fucking with them? Unless I'm really getting a gut busting laugh out of it, and I'm just not. Like I said, it used to be kind of entertaining. It is increasingly less so. Huang is offended. Huang is offended. But yeah, honestly, the main reason I think I want to stop fucking with them, though, has nothing to do with them and everything to do with me kind of recognizing a usage pattern that I'm allowing myself to develop with Reddit that I had with Facebook, and I was able to quit Facebook cold turkey. I see no reason why I wouldn't be able to quit Reddit in the same way. It does me no good to worry, not worry necessarily, but it does me no good to spend, 20 minutes to an hour of my day responding to their stupid horse shit when I'm clearly not making any inroads with any of them. You know, a lot of the horse shit they talk, I feel like they just keep regurgitating the same shit, hoping it takes off, and it never does. And so I kind of feel like, at this point, the best strat might just be like radio silence. You know how I know this conversation has gone upside down and sideways? Because I'm sitting here thinking about what my future food truck is going to have in it. That is still something I want to do, dude. You know what the fucked up thing is? One last little rant before I go for the night. Hold on, let me read that. The hormones, this is not possible. It is harder for sure. Do you think Trump deserves any credit for Israel and Gaza peace deal? Yeah, 100%. I mean, he was involved in it. Both sides seem to recognize he was involved in it, and that's enough for me. Dude, if one or the other side was saying he wasn't, I would be like, okay, he's just trying to take credit, because he does that all the time. Trump will try to take credit for any damn thing that happens. If the sun rises and sets, he would say that it's on him if he could get his fucking base to believe it. And given enough time, they just might. But that's aside the point, right? As far as Trump himself and his involvement in this deal, both sides seem to, acknowledge him as being like a big factor in this, and that's pretty huge. Now, if he just turns around and starts a war with Venezuela, then it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory, right? I mean, at least the slaughter in Venezuela probably won't be as wholesale as the slaughter in Gaza was, but it's still not a good portent for our country and for the anti-war President Donald Trump, the so-called anti-war President Donald Trump, to be launching missiles at and actively destroying vessels he's claiming are Venezuelan drug boats. But we haven't been shown the evidence of that, and I don't see why not, because this is a major fucking, like, this is one of those like things where the conspiracy is big if true, right? Because the conspiracy is these are not drug vessels, these are just regular Venezuelan boats, and the US is trying to provoke Venezuela into a fucking armed conflict. They're trying to get Venezuela to start sending out some Navy ships of their own to attack these American Navy ships, and then they can start fucking bombarding Venezuela and shit. They're trying to provoke a conflict with Venezuela. So if they keep that shit up, like I said, pretty Pyrrhic victory. But yeah, I guess he'll have credit for the war in Gaza ending. You can't take it away from him. It's an objectively good thing that that war finally ends. Under whatever auspices it ends under. I can only speak for myself, Wong. I'm only 3 inches, but I'm built like it thick. Hell yeah. Alrighty. Well, oh, well, you know what? I was going to say one last thing. It was like my one last rant before I go. I've only got 11% battery left, so I got to be quick with it. I feel like I really love doing YouTube, even at the level I'm doing it right now, and I want to do it at a higher level. But I really think I found two things in life that I really, 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 really love. One of them is performing in this manner, performing in a conversational way. I fucking love it. I've done it for over a year now, and I would say I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to it 100%. I don't think it's an unhealthy addiction because it actually pays me, but I definitely am addicted to this, what you guys are seeing me do right now. And I would do it on any show. I'm literally going on Modern Day Debate soon to do basically the same shit. Sit around and talk shit for a couple hours about a position I don't necessarily even believe in, by the way. I think, it's I don't know. James had asked me for a couple of topics. I did give him wide latitude, but I think I maybe should have illustrated exactly what kind of leftist I am, maybe better. But you know what? I'm going to take the position that Kamala Harris would have been a better short term choice than Donald Trump because um, Kamala Harris would have, at the very least, given us 4 more years to try and plan and get behind some kind of independent or third party movement that I think we would have been very able to do had we gotten another 4 years of liberal ineptitude, you know? Oh my God, there's my argument. There's my fucking argument. Oh my God, there it is. You know? Oh, fuck. I don't know how well, oh, fuck. I don't know how well it's going to hold up, though. It's a very interesting argument. I should probably not even talk about it, though. I should probably shut the fuck up. Anyway, I definitely do have to find some interesting justifications for the fact that I don't necessarily think Kamala was necessarily the right choice. And that's going to, be part of it too. It's like, you know, I would have much preferred that we had in 2023 as like I would have rather the American left started some kind of economically populist movement that appealed to the center and the right, to disaffected people from all parties and all walks of life, and the massive amount of people who just don't vote that are eligible to. I think that that should have been done and that we should have followed a path like that. But failing that, because we haven't managed to get there, because we didn't do that, Kamala would have been a better choice for these next 4 years. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a weak thing, but like my argument's just going to be like that, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I need to not talk about it too much. I need to fucking shut the fuck up. Why am I even talking about my debate prep before my debate? Am I retarded? It's good to think it out, but it's not good to think it out for a fucking live audience. This is a debate that's going to be held by other people. Like, what if they're watching? They're probably not. My channel's not that big. And this is not like some big debate that I'm like hyping and everybody else is hyping everywhere in the world. But, you know, it's bad form to discuss this sort of thing. I feel like. I don't know. This is going to be my first actual fucking debate. This is going to be the first actual debate that I've ever participated in. I have only up to this point participated in loosely moderated conversations and things like that, right? So this is going to be my first actual fucking debate, and I kind of look at debate. I've listened to a lot of debate, I've watched a lot of debate, and I kind of look at it as verbal warfare, even more so than argumentation is. It's basically, it really is verbal warfare. Argument is maybe verbal guerrilla warfare, but debate is verbal warfare, where there are rules and stipulations and all that shit, agreed upon topics, etc. And I think that the element of surprise is as useful in debate as it is in um, warfare. Now, not every debate allows you to have the element of surprise. There are some types of debates that require you um, to submit a number of questions to the moderator, and require the opponent to submit a number of questions to the moderator, and so you basically get to know what all the questions are beforehand. They publish them and send them to you and everything, and um, in that way, it's less possible, I guess. But I don't know. I'm really tired. Point is, I feel like I've found two things in life that I really want to do, right? One of them is entertaining. I really love doing this fucking conversational shit. I feel like I could do it all day long on a million different shows. I want to do more of it. And I also love cooking. I utterly love cooking. Obviously, I love eating, but I love cooking way more. I fucking love it. My dream is that someday I will be able to turn this fucking whole crazy YouTube thing into enough money to buy a decent sized food truck and set up a barbecue food truck. Anyway, with that manifestation projected into the universe, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. I'm going to, um, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. I'm going to talk to you guys later. I don't fucking, dude, I'm so fucking sleepy. I don't even know how to talk anymore. Good night, y'all. Have a good one. Sleep well. Do all the things that are normal. I love you all. All chats lead to piss, shit, and cum. That's true. Phoebe, I want you to cook your heart out and follow your dreams. Aw, thank you, Post. You're so sweet. Yeah, Huang will love it too. Huang will love my sausage. Night, Phoebe. Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you too, Brian. Everybody have a good night. Thank you, guys.